Humans will make judgments based on their feelings. Does this feel right to me? Then I'll do it. Does this feel wrong to me? Then maybe I won't do it. Finding a balance is a hard line to walk, and it gets complicated in public opinion, in medical treatments, in litigations, in policies, in politics, in ethical disputes. What is the black and white answer that serves best the people? And then what is that emotional thing? You can't force people to do something that may ethically be wrong to them, but at the same time, if saving money makes sense, you should save money. But if you want the government to pay your rent, well, then I want the government to pay the rent, and I don't want to save money. So public policy and politics, medical, all these things are swayed by what is econ and what is human. Hey, what's up, all of my real estate peeps? This is Brian Lucier with the Why Not Real Estate Podcast, Golden Nugget, where we will take a tip, tactic, or technique and unpack it for you to be able to use in your tool belt as a real estate investor entrepreneur to better improve your bottom line, finances, and operations as a real estate entrepreneur. Well, today I'm kind of excited. I've had a ton of recommendations to read this book, and I finally finished it, and I'll tell you why I chose this particular book. The book is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, and here's the book for you to see it. I've gone through it and finished it. And the reason I was recommended this book, it's having to do with the mindset for investing, and I wanted to better understand investors' decision-making process on how they got to figure out if a deal was good or not. So it was kind of interesting because all the way to the end of the book, he didn't really say this is what you need to do, but he pretty much revealed how is it being done and how are people making the decision. So here we are. We're going to dig in, and this again is a book review mirroring investing for Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. So in the book Thinking Fast and Slow, I was searching for an answer as to how people make their decisions to better use as an investment strategy. I figured this would be a pretty good book to read and have a good shot of enlightenment, where Daniel is the winner of a Nobel Prize in economics. So I thought I would be in good company by reading this book, and it turns out it was true. Reading it, getting through all the pages, wanting to be a better investor, with the recommendations I had, I felt there had to be a pony in there somewhere. So to that end, by the time I finished the book, in the last book chapter with the conclusions, Daniel reveals 3 pairs of variables that dictate the path an investor chooses to make decisions. So the variables are the 2 systems of thinking, which he calls System 1 and System 2. The 2 selves of memory, which is the experiencing self and the memorizing self. We'll get into that. And then the 2 views of judgment, which are econs and humans. So let's dig in. The 2 systems, System 1 and System 2. System 1 is basically an automatic response system. Its job is to quickly evaluate making decisions based on past experiences, likes and dislikes, and actually the framing of how the question was asked. You could ask a question in a positive way or in a negative way, and that will bias you as to how you're going to answer that question. And we'll find out why. And unfortunately, most of the time it's wrong, because if you ask the question in the right way, you can get an answer skewed to your point of view. Point, in fact, is a pro forma on a property that's being sold. You've got the real rent and then the performer rent. It says, if you buy this and raise the rents, it could be worth this. Would you buy that? So system one looks for shortcuts and easy answers to questions. System two takes a little bit more work. This is where you need to figure things out. You need to calculate things. Look at the map, compare notes, look at stats, and really think about a solution to the answer. It takes a lot more work. System two is the tentative system that articulates judgment and makes choices, but it often endorses and rationalizes these ideas and feelings based on information generated and fed to it by system one. Sometimes a more difficult decision from system two calculations can be influenced by memories of our past in system one. This happens with doctors, judges, landlords, and tenants. One bad experience from a property manager will make you think all property managers are bad. The same goes for tenants. One bad landlord will give you a bias against all landlords. Allowing system one to cloud your judgment in system two could potentially knock you out of a profitable situation that you could invest in. So understanding system one and how it works, and understanding system two and how it works are common to all people. We all make the effort to get the fast, easy answer and avoid the hard work. And here's an example. If I were to say to you, here's a picture of an angry woman's face, what's going on? Based on our past experiences, we would say, okay, she's having some emotional conflict, she's not happy, someone must have done something or said something and made her upset. And based on our past experiences, we would be correct because that's the short, easy system one going to work. Now, if I were to ask you, what's 14 by 37, you're going to pause, your eyes are going to dilate, you're going to start to think, you're going to look around the room, and I'm going to do the quick math for you. Just for those people who are stuck on that question, the answer is 518. So that's system two. You have to break out a pad of paper and do the hard work. And that's what it takes sometimes. So system one is, what do you want for lunch today? I want tuna fish. And you're basing that off of previous, I like tuna fish. Eating tuna fish is good for my body, all these things. And if I were to ask you albacore or fresh water or oil, now you have to process and think a little bit more, which is going to engage system two based on your experiences from system one. So there's the first pair of variables. We have system one and system two thinking. The next pair of variables are the two selves, the experiencing self, I got it right that time, and the remembering self. So the book identifies experiencing self and remembering self in this way. The experiencing self itself is more in the immediate present tense. How do you feel today? How does this make you feel? Are you angry, sad, happy, or mad? Do you remember the pain of an event, or do you remember the pleasure of an event? This is all the experience that you remember in any given situation. And we'll connect this to investing in just a second here. So the experiencing self itself sets the standard of how you feel about a thing. Nobody enjoys going to the dentist and getting a painful filling. This adds to the experience. The remembering self cements into your mind how you feel about going to the dentist, and it was painful, and now you don't like it. If you experience pain, that's what you're going to remember. And just like anything bad, anything else, bad news lingers on longer than any good news event. Just turn on the news and you'll see that. They'll rant and rave about something horrible for a week, but something good, it's like, yeah, that was nice, and then it's gone. We are more inclined to remember the bad parts of our past that have hurt us than the joyful moments that add to the fiber of who we are. This builds your association framing. If I'm thinking about a given thing like going to the dentist, I associate that with the framing that, this was painful and all that. And association framing of your experience to relate to future experiences. Oh, next time I go to the dentist, it's going to be painful and I'm not going to enjoy it. Here I'm going to link it in. So if you had a good experience buying a property, then the next time that type of opportunity comes along, you're going to be optimistic because the last time I bought a property, it was a good thing. The same goes with bad feelings. Some landlords get knocked out of the real estate game by one or two few bad tenants, and then they think the whole industry is horrible and that they'll never want to do real estate again just because the experience of a few bad tenants. Don't let that happen. So the remembering self emphasizes the pain or pleasure of an event and seems to forget about the duration of time. Even 2 minutes of pain in the dentist chair can seem like hours that would make them resist having to go through that experience again. Whereas a mild pain, maybe a little Novocaine shot, can be endured for much longer length of time because it's less painful. It's like, okay, well, it wasn't as painful, so I'll put my hand in cold water for 5 minutes, but I don't want to put it into cold water for more than a minute, right? It's still painful to put it into cold water for 5 minutes, but I don't want to endure the pain of ice cold water for 1 minute. So I'll endure pain longer if it's not as extreme. So the duration of time kind of eliminates the emphasis of that pain. Okay, whereas mild pain could be endured for a much longer length of time, extreme pain is like, no, I can't do this and I can't tolerate it, I'm out. It all seems counterintuitive, but the experiencing self will label that memory and the remembering self puts a value judgment on it. So knowing this, take a step back in your decision-making process and try to recognize personally, internally, if you're framing an event in your mind that may not be exactly as it appears to be. They keep saying in the book, what you see is all there is, and that's how we make the decision. But because you had a bad experience in a similar situation, doesn't mean this situation will be another bad experience. So I say slow down and think about it, but also at the same time, being a real estate investor, you can't wait on the fence while an opportunity goes by. So you need to go through your evaluation process. You need to know quickly on a napkin or whatever it is, chart it out on a piece of paper. Does the deal work? And then make the decision to move forward. So it's going to engage system 1 and system 2, the experiencing self and the remembering self. And all this happens really quick. So now we move on to the third set of variables. And in the book, he calls these econs and humans. So he keeps referring to economics and economists in the book and how they have a rigid way of thinking and how humans can be a little bit more emotional and will tend to slide back and forth on the spectrum, where econs will be more institutional and black and white in their reasoning, okay? So how do we rationalize and make decisions is an interesting discussion. The definition of rational and reasonable are not the same thing. It depends on who you ask and what their point of view is. If someone believes in ghosts, then it is reasonable to assume that all of their other belief systems would be in alignment with the existence of ghosts, okay? That would be rational or reasonable to assume that all their beliefs believe in ghosts. Now, however, is it rational to believe in ghosts is another question. So you can see the difference between reasonable and rational. It's all depending on your framing. Here we introduce the two inside views everyone has in the decision-making process. Econs, economists, see situations in black and white, ethically and morally either yes or no, good or bad. All assumptions are reasonable to an econ. Just like the person who believes in ghosts, all other beliefs should be in alignment with that beliefs. That would be reasonable. If the econ believes investing in multifamily is good or bad, then that is across the board. They may be persuaded in the framing, looking at the numbers, of course, but they will analyze that deal more of a system of approach of thinking. And that's fine. We need that. Okay, you need to be able to look at the numbers and figure it out. And if an econ looks at cash flow or appreciation or market or any of these other variables that are black and white, great, that's what they need to do. Now, humans can be more influenced by emotions. That same property, if they're looking at it and they see on Google Earth it's across the street from a junkyard, maybe they may hesitate. So I hesitate to use the word rational because that definition varies from human to human, okay? I might think it's okay to eat a pound of chocolate, whereas someone trying to watch their weight would think that that's not rational, and as a human you shouldn't do that. So do you believe in ghosts or do you not believe in ghosts? Your answer makes sense to you and is rational. This, of course, is based on your experiences, your likes, your dislikes, and your past memories. Humans will make judgments based on their feelings. Does this feel right to me? Then I'll do it. Does this feel wrong to me? Then maybe I won't do it. Finding a balance is a hard line to walk, and it gets complicated in public opinion, in medical treatments, in litigations, in policies, in politics, in ethical disputes. What is the black and white answer that serves best the people? And then what is that emotional thing? You can't force people to do something that may ethically be wrong to them, but at the same time, if saving money makes sense, you should save money. But if you want the government to pay your rent, well, then I want the government to pay the rent, and I don't want to save money. So public policy and politics, medical, all these things are swayed by what is econ and what is human. So it gets a little bit harder. So now there's the third pair. We have the 6 variables we're looking at. We have 2 systems, system 1, system 2. We have 2 selves, experiencing self and remembering self, and the 2 views, the economic or the econ or the human or humanist view. So we need to blend all these together, and it's kind of left, right, forward, back, up, down. Where are you in your decision? And being able to weigh all these out quickly, not too quickly because you don't want to miss a detail, can impact your investing experience. If you've done an investment which has always given you a good return, chances are you're going to be more willing and susceptible to pull the trigger on that type of investment again. The reverse is true. If you got burned on that type of investment, I'm never going to do that type of investment again. So with each pair of the 3 variables identified, the trick is then to slow down or try to see things in slow motion before you pull the trigger. Being said again, you can't hesitate because, how does it go? Fortune favors those who make a decision, right? So you can't wait too long. So think about the question in front of you, whatever it is. Then walk through each pair of variables and say, okay, is this system 1 answer? Is this system 2 answer? Am I thinking econ? Am I thinking human? Is this how I feel about it now, or is this based on past experiences? And try to get to an answer. So again, to review, system 1 and system 2 is the answer to the question based on an emotional experience from the past where I've seen something similar to this, so I think it's the same thing? Or is the answer a spreadsheet or calculation that takes sitting down with a pad of paper and a pencil to work out the numbers? Figure out how you're going to approach the question. Your thoughts will employ system 1 or system 2 to get there. The next pair, the two selves approach, the experiencing self and the remembering self. Is this something I'm experiencing now that is good or bad? Or do I have a past memory of this type of event that is influencing my judgment moving forward? Once burned, twice shy, or everyone deserves a second chance. The last set of variables, again, consider the two views of the econ and the human. What seems reasonable and what seems rational. Without getting into the nuts and bolts or the deep weeds of the discussion at a higher end, just being aware of these parameters we all carry can slow us down and make us realize to think a little bit more clearly about the answer we're trying to reach. I think these considerations are especially important as we move into a new real estate market cycle. Yes, market cycles and trends repeat themselves and are predictable, but they're not always governed under the same situation. What may have worked in a buyer's market 10 years ago may not be the strategy you can apply today because some of the other System 2 variables, interest rates, market, inventory, some of these other things may have changed. So what you used to do as a buyer 10 years ago, lowball offers, may not work in today's offers, and you may need to come up with a higher offer or overbid offer. So slow it down enough to take a moment to think, but don't get analysis paralysis. Is this a logical judgment? Is it an emotional decision? Is it somewhere in between? But don't wait too long or the opportunity may pass you by. So upon finishing the book at the last page, trying to reflect on everything that I'd been exposed to and learned and how to determine what the decision-making process is and how it really works for investing, I was reminded by this famous quote from Will Rogers. And here it is, right? The quote from Will Rogers. The problem in America isn't so much what people don't know. The problem is what they think they know that just ain't so. So there it is. There's my review of Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow. It was a very good book. There was a lot of aha moments and a lot of reflection where I could see myself in the different decision-making process between econs, humans, system 1, system 2, my experiencing self, and my remembering self. So hopefully this helps you think about your decision-making process in a new market cycle which is approaching us. It was a good book. I would recommend it. I'm going to have some other book reviews coming up soon, but there it is, Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow. Ladies and gentlemen, all of my real estate peeps, this is Brian Lucier from the Why Not Real Estate Podcast, Golden Nugget, with a book review, and we're signing off, and we'll see you on the next one.